Hey, it's Father Dave again. Thanks for listening to me droning on in these videos about the problem of evil, the question of why a loving God might permit suffering in the world, why he would create an imperfect world. I'll try to be a bit more succinct here, discussing the third and fourth possible reason. Third one has to do with agape love, and the fourth one has to do with contributing towards the common good. Agape love is the kind of love that we would say most defines who God is, right? There's many different kinds of love, but this agape love is a love that is a self-gift. It's expecting no reward. It's expressed often in self-sacrifice. It sees, recognizes the good in the other, and wants to respond with a gift of self. And that that giving actually can bring great joy to the giver. Now, this agape love is made much more likely in a world that has imperfections, right? Because of some of the things that lead us to this kind of self-gift. If we were just self-sufficient in ourselves, we might not seek it. If life were good, if we again lived in this pleasure bubble, we might not be impelled to that type of love. And in fact, that love that is the complete gift of oneself is the most fulfilling human action, we could say. So things like empathy, where kind of we see the weakness in another, we see their need, and we're drawn towards them, right? That's only possible in an imperfect world, right? Because if each of us were self-sufficient and perfect, we wouldn't notice that need in another, or that other wouldn't notice a need in us. Our own vulnerability, too, impels us towards love. Once we realize that we are in need, for example, in need of love, and that illusion of our self-reliance kind of breaks down, then the capacity to give and to receive this kind of love is made possible. It's there. Humility, right? The world isn't all about me, right? There'd be no such thing as a humility if everything were perfect. We would not kind of be broken down so that we could open our hearts to that reality of self-giving love that we need, and that actually helps us as well. And things like forgiveness and compassion and accepting others' compassion, these are aspects of that agape love, right? And our only part of existence is imperfect, right? Forgiveness would not be a thing, would not exist if there wasn't sin, if there wasn't imperfection in our world. Forgiveness would not be a concept, right? So the claim here is that this agape love, whereas our ego, our autonomous desires tend to block that, suffering, the imperfection in the world that makes suffering possible, opens us up to loving in such a way, or to receiving that kind of love. The fourth possible explanation of why a loving God would create an imperfect world, or would permit suffering, has to do with common cause working towards the common good, right? There's our individual sufferings, but there's also the experience of collective suffering, which brings about this sense of our interdependence, right? No man is an island, right? We need each other. We're not self-sufficient. It brings about the idea that we can actually improve the world. We can contribute to make it better, which obviously would not be a thing if the world were perfect. So we put our creativity, our ideals into that work of improving the world. And even improving the social structures as a whole is something, that the human spirit strives for. And a lot of those changes, a lot of those positive changes in our social structures arise out of the experience of suffering, collective experience of suffering. One example would be after industrialization, when there was so much exploitation of workers, that gave rise to all the workers' rights movements and so on. So that experience of collective suffering actually, in the end, created better structures that help the common good, right? The good of all. Of course, things that are part of the towering of the human spirit, but only made possible, both this agape love and this working towards the common good, only made possible in a world that's imperfect, in a world that needs that love, in a world that needs that growth and improvement. So next time we'll talk about the fifth one, and just some concluding remarks before we talk about how not to miss the opportunity of suffering in our lives. So thanks again for your patience, for listening, praying for you. God bless you.